My brother took my $20K loan, then ghosted me at his engagement. I thought I was doing the right thing when I handed over that check. My brother had been struggling with his startup for months, and when he called me at midnight 3 weeks ago, voice shaking, saying he needed $20,000 to keep his business afloat, I didn't hesitate. We'd always been close, especially after our parents' messy divorce when we were teenagers. I'd worked double shifts for 2 years to save that money for my own apartment down payment, but family comes first, right? The next morning, I drove to his cramped studio apartment across town. He looked exhausted, stubble covering his usually clean-shaven face, empty energy drink cans scattered across his desk. His laptop screen showed spreadsheets with red numbers everywhere. When I pulled out the cashier's check, his eyes actually welled up with tears. He promised he'd pay me back within 6 months, said his client was just late on a major payment. I believed him completely because he'd never lied to me before. For 2 weeks after that, everything seemed normal. He'd text me updates about his business, send funny memes, even invited me over for pizza and video games like we used to do. I felt good about helping him out. Then his texts became shorter, less frequent. When I called, he'd answer but sound distracted, always saying he was in meetings or about to jump on important calls. I figured he was just busy trying to save his company. But then I discovered something that made my blood run cold during a casual scroll through social media. I was mindlessly scrolling through Instagram after work when I saw it. A post from his girlfriend showing off a massive diamond ring, captioned with heart emojis and the date of their engagement party. My stomach dropped. The ring looked expensive, really expensive. The kind of expensive that costs around $20,000. I stared at my phone screen for a full minute, my hands actually trembling. The post was from 3 days ago. I immediately called him, but it went straight to voicemail. I texted asking if we could talk, but got no response. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how he'd looked so desperate, so genuine when he asked for the money. Had he been planning this engagement the whole time? Was his business actually failing, or was that just an elaborate lie to get money for the ring? The next day, I decided to drive by his apartment building. His car wasn't there, but I ran into his neighbor, an older woman who always remembered me from previous visits. She mentioned how excited she was about his engagement, said she'd seen him loading boxes into a moving truck the day before. Moving truck. He hadn't mentioned anything about moving. I asked where he was going, but she didn't know. I spent the next few days calling him repeatedly, leaving increasingly desperate voicemails. I even reached out to his girlfriend on social media, but she'd blocked me. The realization hit me like a truck. He was avoiding me on purpose. My own brother had taken my life savings, lied to my face, and was now hiding from me. I felt sick to my stomach, betrayed in a way I'd never experienced before. When I finally tracked down the engagement party location, I discovered he'd been living a double life. After 3 sleepless nights, I remembered his girlfriend had tagged a fancy restaurant in one of her older posts. I called pretending to be looking for information about a private event, and the hostess confirmed they had a reservation for an engagement party that weekend. I couldn't believe I was actually going to crash my brother's engagement party, but I needed answers. The restaurant was way more upscale than anywhere we'd ever eaten together. Through the window, I could see him in an expensive-looking suit, laughing with people I didn't recognize. He looked happy, relaxed, nothing like the desperate person who'd begged me for money. My chest tightened with anger and hurt. I watched for 20 minutes before finally walking inside. The moment he saw me, his face went completely white. He excused himself from his conversation and rushed over, grabbing my arm and pulling me toward the bathroom. His grip was tight, almost painful. In the bathroom, he looked panicked, kept glancing at the door like he expected someone to walk in. When I asked about the money, he claimed his business was still struggling, that he'd used the money for equipment and supplies. But I'd seen the ring, seen the expensive venue, seen his new clothes. That's when I met his future father-in-law, a tall man in an expensive suit who introduced himself as they walked out of the bathroom together. He mentioned how impressed he was with my brother's successful business, how proud he was to have him joining the family. My brother's face went red as he quickly introduced me as just a friend from work. Not his brother. A friend from work. Something dark and twisted was happening, and my brother's lies were about to catch up with him. The father-in-law started asking me about our workplace, what department I worked in, how long I'd known his future son-in-law. I realized my brother had been lying to his girlfriend's family about everything. He'd never mentioned having a brother, had apparently told them he was wildly successful in business. I could see the panic in his eyes as he tried to steer the conversation away from specifics. I excused myself and went back to observe the party from outside. Through the window, I watched him return to his girlfriend, saw how he kept glancing toward the door where I'd been standing. He was terrified I'd expose him. That's when I noticed something else. Several people at the party worked for the same company where our cousin had gotten him a job 6 months ago. He wasn't running a startup at all. He was working a regular office job and had been lying about that too. My phone buzzed with a text from him, "Please don't ruin this for me. I'll pay you back, I promise. Just give me time." I stared at the message, feeling a mixture of rage and disbelief. He wasn't even apologizing for lying, just asking me to keep quiet about it. $20,000 of my money had paid for his fake lifestyle, and now he wanted me to protect his lies. I spent the next hour walking around the block, trying to decide what to do. Part of me wanted to march back in there and tell everyone the truth. But another part of me still remembered the brother I'd grown up with, the one who'd helped me through our parents' divorce, who'd been my best friend for most of my life. I felt completely torn between wanting justice and wanting to protect him. But when I returned to the restaurant, I witnessed something that changed everything forever. I was about to leave when I saw him through the window again, but this time he was arguing with someone. A woman in a business suit was showing him something on her phone, and he looked absolutely terrified. She was pointing at the screen, talking animatedly while he kept shaking his head. His girlfriend noticed the commotion and came over, looking concerned. I moved closer to the window and recognized the woman. She was a private investigator I'd seen in our local newspaper, someone who specialized in financial fraud cases. My heart started racing. Was my brother in even deeper trouble than I'd thought? Had he stolen money from other people too? The pie was showing documents to his girlfriend now, whose face was changing from confusion to horror. Within minutes, the entire engagement party had turned into chaos. His girlfriend was crying, her father was shouting, and my brother was backing toward the exit. I watched in shock as his carefully constructed lies crumbled in real time. The pie noticed me watching through the window and motioned for me to come inside. Apparently, I wasn't the only person my brother had borrowed money from. The pie explained that 3 other people had filed complaints about my brother taking loans under false pretenses. One was an elderly neighbor who'd lent him $5,000 for supposed medical bills. Another was a former coworker who'd given him money for a fake emergency. The third was our own uncle, who'd been too embarrassed to tell the family that he'd been scammed out of $15,000. As the investigation unfolded, I realized my brother hadn't just betrayed me, he'd betrayed everyone who'd ever trusted him. The fake business, the desperate calls, the tears, it had all been an elaborate con to fund his expensive lifestyle and engagement. He'd been playing the long game, manipulating people who loved him to pay for his lies. The restaurant manager was asking everyone to leave, the engagement party was completely ruined, and my brother had disappeared into the night. His girlfriend was sobbing while her father called their family lawyer. I stood there in the middle of the chaos, holding a business card from the pie, finally understanding that the brother I'd grown up with was gone, replaced by someone I didn't recognize at all. Standing in that destroyed party, surrounded by the wreckage of my brother's lies, I realized that sometimes the people who hurt us most are the ones we'd never expect to. The $20,000 was just money, but the betrayal of trust, the realization that someone I'd loved unconditionally had been manipulating me, that was something I'd never be able to get back. The hardest part wasn't losing the money, it was losing the brother I thought I knew.